The dog began barking right after midnight, a loud warning sound that echoed through the Montana Valley like thunder. Jack Harrison got up from his bed, picked up his cold revolver, and walked through the dark hall with the quiet of a man born ready for danger. He thought it was a wolf or a robber. What he saw instead was a woman who fell on his porch, wet from rain, bleeding and holding a cloth bag like her life depended on it. He moved closer, lowering his weapon. She was thin, very light when he lifted her into his arms. Dirt was falling from her torn dress. Lightning flashed as he carried her inside. Her hair was stuck to her face. Her skin was white from cold. But what surprised him most was how she held that bag. Even unconscious, she kept it with the determination of someone who had struggled her whole life. As he put her on the leather couch near the fire, her eyes slowly opened. They were not soft, begging eyes like the women who traveled far to marry him. These eyes were sharp, wild, and scared. She moved backward, reaching for a knife hidden under her skirt. Jack raised both hands. "You are safe," he said. "You are at the Star Ranch." She looked around the room, the light fixture, the animal rug, the polished wood. Most women looked at those things with greed. She looked at them with fear. "I cannot stay here," she whispered. "You can barely stand," Jack said. "I do not want your help," she snapped. "I will pay you. I can cook, I can clean, I can work. Just do not ask where I came from." Her voice broke. Her hands shook. Her fear was not of him. It was of whoever she had left behind. "Name?" Jack asked. "Sarah," she said after a second. "Just Sarah." "Fine," he said. "But you're bleeding on my rug." She looked down and saw the dark mark growing along her side. She did not even react. It was the first sign she was not normal. Jack pointed upstairs. "Guest room. You're staying there tonight. When the storm is over, we will talk about barns and cooking." She waited, then nodded. For a moment he thought she might fall again, but she forced herself up and followed him. What he did not know was that the moment she walked into his house, his life changed forever. 3 days earlier, Jack had stood on this same porch with a cigar in his hand, watching a dust cloud rise on the long road from Billings. Another carriage, another rich woman, another person trying to marry the king of Montana. At 32, Jack owned 40,000 acres along the Yellowstone River. His cattle business made newspapers on both coasts. Everywhere he went, women looked at him like he was made of gold. They traveled in silk dresses, smelling of perfume and golds. They called him handsome. They called him mysterious. They called him the wealthiest single man in the area. He called them liars. Not one of them wanted him. They wanted the land. Frank, his old manager, stood beside him that afternoon. "Message says the lady coming today is Miss Elizabeth Thompson." Frank said her father owns half the steel in Pittsburgh. Jack did not blink. "Send her back." "She came 3,000 miles, Frank muttered. "The least you could do was offer her a drink." "I run a ranch, not a hotel," Jack said. The carriage arrived. The driver opened the door. A woman stepped out, covered in blue silk and flower perfume. "Ah!" She smiled with all the pride of someone who never heard the word no. "Mr. Harrison," she said smoothly. "You have seen the wild," Jack said. "Now turn around." Her smile faded. Her cheeks turned red. "Excuse me?" "You are here for a deal, not a husband," he said. "Driver, take her back to the station." She gasped. "Do you know who I am?" "You are the 23rd woman this year to waste my time." He did not stay to watch her talk or cry. He was used to it. They came, they begged, they cried, they left. He thought the day was finished. He did not know a storm was coming, one that had nothing to do with rain. By the third morning after the strange woman arrived, Jack expected her to rest, maybe ask for tea and comfort like the others. Instead, Frank found her cleaning pots in the kitchen at 4 in the morning. By noon, she was fixing the pantry. By evening, she was in the yard cutting wood with perfect skill. Jack watched her through his office window. She worked harder than half his men. She jumped whenever a rider passed. She hid when a stranger came near. Not a criminal, he thought. Not pride. Fear. Someone was chasing her. He walked out to her. She did not hear him over the sound of the axe. When she turned, she lifted it to protect herself before lowering it again. "I am paying for my room," she said out of breath. "I told you I do not need payment, and I told you I do not take handouts." They stood close, breathing hard. Her eyes burned. She did not care about his money. She did not care about his land. She did not even seem impressed by his name. It was the first time in years a woman had not tried to please him. It shook him to his heart. "Fine," he said. "If you want to work, the cook left last week. $5 a week and a bed, but you eat with me." She waited. "I eat in the kitchen." "No," he said, "at my table. That is the rule." She slowly agreed. That night, as she sat across from him at the long wood table, her hand shaking slightly as she cut her food, Jack saw the truth in her eyes. She was not running from being poor. She was running from a man. And whoever he was, he had almost broken her. The fire burned in the long dining room as Emily, still pretending to be Sarah, kept her eyes down. Jack watched her carefully, noticing the way she kept one hand close to the cloth bag she had brought with her. He noticed the way she jumped when a floorboard made a sound, the way she never put her back to a window. She was not a worker. She was not a traveler. She was a woman who had lived through something that would make most people give up. "Where are you from?" Jack asked, cutting his meat. She paused. "Somewhere else." "So you were running?" "I said I was not a criminal." "I did not say you were." Her fork fell from her hands. Her shoulders tightened. "I do not want trouble," she whispered. "I just want to earn my place." Jack leaned forward. "You do not trick me. I know men and I know fear. Whoever hurt you, he is still close, is he not?" She stood up from the table. "Thank you for the food. I will clean the plates." "Sit down," Jack said, his voice deep. "I am your employer, not your prisoner." "You are a woman alone in Montana with a bullet wound and a fake name," he said. "Tell me what happened." Her eyes filled with tears before she could stop them. "If he finds me," she whispered, "he will burn your ranch to the ground just to hurt me." "Who?" Jack asked. She shook her head, fear stopping her voice. "My husband." The word hit him like a punch. She stared into the fire, shaking. "He has money, men, power, and lawmen in his pocket. If he knows I am here—" Jack did not let her finish. "He will have to get through me first." For the first time, she looked at him with something other than fear. Trust. Over the next few days, she became part of the ranch without even trying. She cooked without being asked, cut wood before the men woke up, washed the floors, cleaned the barns, and helped the men fix fences. The ranch workers loved her. They called her Miss Sarah, even though Jack knew that was not her name. She laughed with them sometimes, small, quiet laughs, but each time horse sounds came from the road, she froze like a rabbit waiting for the hunter. Jack felt a need to protect her he had not felt in years. He did not understand it. He did not want to understand it, but it was there every time she walked by. Then on the 7th day, everything changed. Jack was in town to buy supplies. He stepped into the general store and froze. A new poster was on the wall. A missing woman, a reward offered by her loving husband. A drawing of Sarah. Except the name below was not Sarah, it was Emily Miller, wife of Samuel Miller, a man who owned more lawmen than cows. Jack tore the poster off the wall, his jaw held so tight it hurt. The store owner moved back. "Trouble, Mr. Harrison?" "No," Jack said. "Just trash." He put the poster into his coat and rode home fast. Emily was in the pen training a horse when he arrived. Dust blew around her, her hair loose, her face covered with sweat and dirt. She looked free for the first time since she had arrived. Jack rode straight toward her. She saw his face and her smile went away. She slid off the horse. "What did you find?" she asked, her voice shaking. He did not speak. He pulled the messy poster from his coat and held it out. Her breath left her body in one loud gasp. She stared at the drawing, at her real name, at the lies written below it about being sick and confused. "It is all lies," Emily whispered. "I am not crazy. I ran because he owns everything. Police, judges, hired guards. I thought if you knew who he was, you would send me back like everyone else did." "I am not everyone else," Jack said. She broke. Tears fell down her face, quiet and sad. She turned away, running for the house, but Jack caught her arm gently. "Let me go," she cried. "He will destroy you." "Let him try." She froze, staring at him. I do not run from men like him, Jack said, and you are not running anymore. Her lips shook. He is coming, Jack. He will find me. Jack brushed her hair back, his touch softer than he meant. Then we will be ready. That night, Jack gathered his men in the office. The woman staying with us is Samuel Miller's wife, Jack said. He is coming. He is bringing hired killers. Frank let out a long whistle. Heard of him. Train money. Mean as they come. No shame if any man wants to leave, Jack said. Not one man moved. They all stayed. The ranch turned into a fort, guns in the windows, watchers on the hills, bullets stacked beside every door. Emily helped pack the bullets. Her hands shook, but her face was firm. She was not running, not this time. 3 days later, dust rose on the horizon. 12 riders, a black carriage. Samuel Miller himself stepped out, dressed in a perfect gray suit, looking at Jack like he was a piece of cow to be bought. I'm here for my wife, Samuel said calmly. She's not going anywhere, Jack answered. I will pay you, Samuel said, $5,000. Keep your money. Samuel's smile finally broke. This cowboy dream ends today. Emily, come out to your husband. The door opened. Emily walked out with a rifle in her hands. She stood beside Jack. Samuel's face twisted with anger. You like him better? He spat. This dirty rancher? Emily lifted the rifle. Her voice was steady. I like a man better. Samuel moved forward. His men reached for their guns. But Jack did not step back. He stepped forward. You cross that fence, he said, and we are finished talking. The standoff hung in the air like lightning before it hits. And in that moment, Jack realized something. He was not just protecting Emily. He loved her. For 3 long seconds, no one in the valley breathed. The wind moved across the grass and shook the fence posts while the 2 men looked at each other. Samuel Miller stood stiff and angry, his clean boots perfect in the dirt. Jack Harrison stood with his rifle resting in one hand, his jaw tight, the whole ranch behind him. Samuel was the first to step back. He saw the gleam of rifles in the barn top. He saw the shapes of men watching from the hill. He saw Emily, his wife, his object, standing beside another man with fire in her eyes. He was not winning today. But men like Samuel Miller did not need bullets to ruin lives. I will take your money, Samuel hissed. I will starve this ranch until you beg me to take her back. Then he turned, climbed into his carriage, and was gone. Jack did not care about picking up the bag of gold Samuel had thrown at his feet. He just whispered, War is here. It started quietly. No gunshots, no bombs, just doors closing in their faces. The bank said no to Jack's loan. The store suddenly had no flour, no coffee, no nails. The metal worker did not have time to fix their horses. Samuel's men stayed in town, watching, waiting, spreading threats like fire. The Star Ranch was not attacked by soldiers, but by money. Emily saw the result right away. Men became nervous. Food ran low. Every rider from town returned with worry in their shoulders. One night, she found Jack in the barn, sitting alone on a pile of hay with his head down. It surprised her. Jack Harrison was not a man who looked defeated. I should go, she whispered. If I leave, he will stop. Jack lifted his head slowly, his eyes dark with something deeper than anger. You think I would let you walk back to that monster? You are losing everything, she said. The ranch, your men, your peace. He stood and walked to her, holding her shoulders gently but firmly. I spent 10 years building fences, cattle lines, and a name that people feared, he said softly. But none of it meant a thing until the night you crawled on my porch. Her breath caught. You are not going anywhere, he said. Not now, not ever. His kiss came suddenly, rough at first, then gentle. Emily held him, her hands shaking against his shirt. For the first time in her life, a man was not holding her down. He was holding her up. Before the sun came up the next morning, Jack gathered 20 ranch hands in the bunkhouse. Samuel cut us off from the train in Billings, he said, but he does not own the line in Casper. If we get the cows there, we live. Frank scratched his beard. Boss, that is 200 miles, and Samuel's men will try to stop us. Jack added, this is not a cow move. It is a fight. Every man nodded. Emily stepped forward wearing a borrowed hat, pants tucked into boots, and an ammo belt across her chest. "I am coming," she said. "Emily, you ride, I ride," she said firmly. "If I stay here, Samuel will just burn the ranch down." Jack looked at her, then nodded. "Get the horses ready." The cattle drive was very hard. Dust storms, nights without sleep, trouble from riders on far hills, gunshots in the dark. Men shouted warnings while the cows moved nervously. On the fourth night, a loud noise lit the sky with a crack. Dynamite. The cows panicked right away, running toward a cliff. "Turn him!" Jack yelled, riding fast into the mess. The ground shook with the sound of thousands of feet. Emily rode dangerously close to the front, waving her hat, shouting, firing a shot into the air to push the cows away from the edge. Gunshots came from the hills. Samuel's men were shooting at the cows, making them wild. A cow tripped right in front of Emily's horse. Her horse jumped and threw her into the dirt. "Emily!" Jack screamed. Without thinking, he jumped into the middle of the running cows. Emily had no words left. His horse moved around horns and feet with great luck. He leaned down, grabbed her by the arm, and pulled her onto the seat, just as the cows ran over the spot where she had fallen. Her arms held his waist, her body shaking hard. "You with me?" he shouted. Her voice shook. "I am here." Together, they pushed the cows away from the cliff until they finally slowed. The ranch survived the night, barely. The next day, they reached Devil's Pass, tall rock walls on both sides. A perfect trap. Jack looked ahead and found Samuel's men sitting above the narrow path. 20 gunmen with the high ground. If they rode through, they would be killed, unless someone drew their attention. A scary idea formed. "I will do it," Emily said right away when he explained. "No. They want me alive, Jack. They will not shoot." He hated it so much he could hardly breathe. But she was right. An hour later, she rode alone through the path, a white cloth tied to her rifle like a sign of giving up. "I am here," she shouted. "Let the men go." All eyes looked at her. No one looked up the rocks behind the gunman, where Jack and his best shooters lay hidden. "Now!" Jack yelled. 10 rifles fired from above. The attackers never had a chance. Within minutes, they ran away, leaving the path open. Jack slid down the rocks, out of breath. Emily rode to him. He pulled her from the horse and kissed her like a man who had almost lost his whole world. The drive continued. When they reached Casper, the cows sold for more money than Jack had ever seen. Over $100,000. Enough to save the ranch. Enough to stop Samuel. Emily smiled for the first time without fear. "We did it." "We did," Jack said. But when they stepped onto the main street, their wind stopped. A wall of men blocked the way. In the middle stood Samuel Miller, the sheriff at his side. "Jack Harrison," the sheriff said, voice shaking. "I have a paper for your arrest, for taking Mrs. Emily Miller." "That is a lie," Emily shouted. Samuel smiled coldly. "She is confused." He snapped his fingers. "Take him." Lawmen raised their guns. Jack's men got ready, hands near their weapons. The whole street could explode with one wrong move. Then Emily stepped forward fast. She grabbed Samuel by his fine silk necktie, pulled him off balance, and put her revolver under his chin. "Do not move," she screamed. The entire town stopped. "Sheriff," she shouted, "you want a criminal? Arrest him. He hired men to kill us." The sheriff waited, looked at Jack, then at 20 tough ranch workers ready to shoot. Finally, he said, "Men, put your guns down." Samuel's face turned red with shame. "You will be sorry," he growled. "You already tried," Jack said. Samuel ran from the street, slipping in mud, his pride broken. 6 months later, Jack and Emily married under the open Montana sky. She wore lace. He wore his best hat. Her rifle leaned beside the altar. The king of Montana finally had a queen, not one who wanted his money, but one who wanted him. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating Wild West tales. Also, let us know in the comments where you're listening to this story and what time it is.